very much, James. Do you not want to do a little introduction as to the purpose?
I can do an intro. Yeah. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is James Son. It's a pleasure for me to be your the introducer tonight. I'm not the host, in a sense, because Gordon is going to be hosting this evening. An amazing call this evening with someone who is absolutely setting a major trend in helping people to set goals, helping people to be really effective in their goal setting, and that is Brian Mayne. And so Brian Mayne is on the call with us this evening. We're very, very pleased and excited about the fact that he's going to be our keynote speaker at our event on the 16th, our Vision Day in Swindon. And we thought it would just be a fantastic thing this evening for people just to be able to get a flavour for what we're going to be able to hear and savour, in a sense, on that day in Swindon. Very important time of the year, January. We have an opportunity to set amazing goals for 2016, but we just want this year to be different. We want this year to be a year that by the time we get to the end of the year, we will say, wasn't that amazing? Didn't we achieve a lot? And so often we come to the end of the year and we think, well, really, we didn't achieve as much as we could have done. So with that very, very brief intro, I'm going to hand over to my very good friend, Gordon Wilkie, who's down in Portugal with his dear wife. And Gordon is going to take us through the course. So good evening, Gordon.
Good evening, James, and thank you very much. Do you want to just mute everybody, James, so that we've got everybody muted?
Yep.
Brian, when you're ready to speak, if you could unmute yourself and come back on.
How do you unmute?
On the right bottom.
Okay, I have it.
Okay, fine. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the call. And thank you, James, for that introduction. Yes, I'm very privileged tonight to be the host for this evening's call, to interview someone who I met actually over 20 years ago when I first joined Juice Plus and NSA. I was actually treated to a leadership weekend or kind of a training day where Brian was the host for the day, actually. We had Brian for the whole day. And I was introduced to a concept which I've actually kind of maintained over the rest of the 20-odd years that I've been in Juice Plus. And mind mapping and goal mapping was something that was introduced to me, and it really stayed with me. And that was really in a very brief introduction, long time ago. Anyway, last year, Brian came back to Juice Plus, and we had an NMD meeting at Wokefield Park, and precursor to one of the conferences there. And again, Brian spent an afternoon with all the NMDs, and we did a whole goal mapping session there as well, which was fantastic. And as James says, he is a special keynote speaker at the 16th of January in Swindon. So tonight was really give you a flavour so that you can go back to your own team and really explain how important it is to be at the 16th of January, and just the information you're going to get and how you can actually use that in your own, not just your Juice Plus lives, but in your own lives. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Brian. I'm not going to tell you too much more about him because he, along the way, will tell the story. And Brian, perhaps you can just tell us a little bit about your background. I know you're going to share some screens, some kind of slides with us. So if everything goes blank, don't worry, everybody. Just Brian's screen's going to kick in. So Brian, welcome to the call tonight. Perhaps you just tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to be on the call with you. I've been speaking more than 20 years now, probably about 21 years. But my background, and I'll see if I can bring up the slide, is that I was born into a gypsy family. And if you can see it here on the screen, can you see that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Then just go back to the screen share here.
No. Oh, here we go.
Here you go. So I was born into a traveling family, and here on the slide is a picture of my grandfather and grandmother and father sat on the steps of their traveling wagon, and both my sides of my family come from circus. And two of the oldest circus families in England, actually, is where I descend from. And my ancestors operated funfair equipment. This is my father's funfair, and he took his funfair equipment as I was born to the seaside and opened up on the Isle of Wight. But we would only go there for the summer months, and then we would also travel with the funfairs. And that pattern continued up until I was about 18. What it meant was that I had a lot of different schools each year. I had one school on the Isle of Wight where we were for our summer season. I had another school on the mainland of England, and I had very little school while we travelled with the funfairs. I actually left school at 13 with no qualifications and unable to read and write because I had dyslexia. But I didn't think it would hold me back. It was actually the normal thing to leave school at 13 in the community I grew up in the travelling community. And I worked hard with the family business. I helped the business to expand. And at around about 19, I took the family business in a new direction. And I become the youngest person ever, still to this day, in England to be given a license to open a disco. I opened the disco at 19 and I've become phenomenally successful with that. I made a lot of money very young and expanded the family business, was in that business for 13 years, the entertainment business for the disco. But at the end of that period, things went dramatically wrong and I lost everything. And I ended up £1 million in debt with no qualifications, unable to read and write, had never had a formal work experience in my life. My wife left at the same time. My home was repossessed. Everything went wrong. But the blessing in it all was that I, through the disaster, was introduced to both network marketing and personal development. And that actually became the major turning point in my life that led me to where I am now. It's been a long journey, but that I can trace it back to really network marketing introducing me to personal development is what led on to all the positive changes that I now enjoy.
Fantastic. So how did you start then with the goal mapping? Where does that come in the story in terms of how you got that going?
Well, when everything went wrong for me and I was in so much debt, and I'd always been rich. I'd not known what it was like to be in debt, really. And suddenly I'd gone from being worth £1 million and driving a fast red Italian sports car and living in a big 3-story house on the seafront to no home, no car, no money, £1 million of debt. And I really didn't know what I could do because of having no qualifications. And I got recruited to do some direct sales, and some of the sales guys were also doing network marketing, and they introduced me to it. And I, to be honest, didn't want to go. I wasn't particularly interested. But a personal development workshop was put on, and I was sort of encouraged to go along. And the statement that made me open my mind was this one here on the screen, that if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And either way, you prove yourself right. And I'd heard it before, but the trainer that was presenting the material was able to explain the simple science that sits behind the saying. And it just helped me to form a strategy of how I could implement this principle into my life, because I didn't realize there was so much depth to it. And what I learned, and has made such a world of difference to me, and I now teach all over the world, is that we all have a great many brain cells. The estimates are we have 100 billion brain cells, or neurons. Each one of our brain cells, represented by the black dots here on the screen, grows a tail called an axon, which is in blue, and these arms or branches, which are called dendrites, and they're in pink. And when you have a thought, it starts in the middle of the brain cell and it travels out along the arms, and it wants to connect with another brain cell so you can build a pattern of thought to form new ideas, new understandings. But there's a small gap that separates all the brain cells. And the key point is, if the thought you have is positive, that could be a positive thought about yourself as a person, it could be a positive thought about your life, it could be a positive thought about an area of your life, or it could be a positive thought about a specific situation, like achieving your sales target, reaching the next level in the marketing plan, introducing someone to the business, making a presentation. If your thought is positive, the positive impulse in the middle of the brain cell travels out along the dendrite arms, and it triggers the release of a chemical into your brain from the end of the brain cell arm. It triggers a neuroreceptor. And if your thought is positive, it releases a chemical into your brain called serotonin. And that's the chemical that gives you the feeling of happiness and well-being. It's the same chemical that's released if you take an antidepressant drug like Prozac. The difference is when you think positively, you do it naturally. And as well as giving you a good feeling, serotonin acts as a neuroconductor. So it joins the brain cells together, allows your thought impulse to continue, and you build this pattern or train of thought. And it's this joining of brain cells that helps us to find answers to problems. This is how we create new ideas. And because of the feel-good feeling from the serotonin, it also helps us to find the courage and the motivation to take our new idea, our answer to the problem that we face, and take a brave step forward and do something with it. But if we think negatively about ourselves or our life or our situation, then the negative thoughts release in a different chemical called cortisone. And cortisone is the chemical that gives us the feeling of sadness and depression. And it's also a neuroinhibitor. It stops a thought dead in its tracks. As you think negatively, your brain starts to shut down and your thinking becomes isolated into patches. There's no birth of new ideas. You just see more of the problem. And the cortisone sends you into fear. And a lot of people just freeze with the fear and they become inactive. And scientists have thought this for a long time, but it's only in recent years they've been able to prove it. The real big insight for me, and this is the area really of latest brain research, what they call neuroplasticity, is that when you set a goal, it actually helps stimulate the brain cells to join together. Because every time you imagine yourself you're going to achieve something, you tell yourself you're going to achieve something, you're joining two or more brain cells together. And if you remind yourself of your goal every day, that gradually strengthens the brain cell connection, so it forms a belief. Because all a belief is, whether it's a positive belief or a negative belief, it is an established connection between two or more brain cells. And so by setting a goal, imagine ourselves achieving it, telling ourselves we would do it, we gradually build this brain cell connection that becomes a belief. And through that, helps command our subconscious to move us towards the achievement of the goal. And it was really this that was the key thing for me, and it's part now of the key teaching that I get invited into universities to share. And my first goal was simply to learn to read. And it took me about a year, and I was so excited at learning to read at age 30. I wanted to read everything, but I disciplined myself into just reading the types of books that were already helping me, which was personal development and self-improvement and positive thinking. And that's the stuff that I used to learn to read. And so I just wanted to soak up more and more of it. And in particular, apply the things that made sense. And as I applied the simple techniques of goal setting and self-motivation and positive thinking, so life took off for me. In particular, my work life with my network marketing and my sales, because my performance figures rose from the lowest to the highest in the team. A lot of people wanted to know how I'd achieved that. And I started getting regularly invited to make presentations. And over a period of time, I found myself giving more actually of myself to the presentations than I was to work in the business or selling. And so I made the switch into training. And then I got recommended as a trainer to the Anthony Robbins organization. I was recruited by them as one of their trainers, and then also by Stephen Covey to teach his program, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so that launched me into my training career around about 21, 22 years ago now.
Wow. So coming back to the mind mapping kind of principles, and you talked about going into universities and explaining this and to schools. So yeah. What is the principle that's made it so successful? I mean, I'm a very visual person, and I can relate to just, you know, just the pictures you've got on the screen there. Is it the combination of that visualness and also the writing that you have? To tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, the thing that's made the technique so effective is that it helps to activate both sides of the brain. And just very simply, because I always try and make my work simple because of presenting it to children as well as to big leaders. My top end clients are people like Microsoft, Siemens, Disney, Coca-Cola, and I work with their senior leadership, but I'm also working with 7 and 8 year olds in school. And so I find if you can make it very simple, then it's applicable to everyone. And we have a wide range of people using the material. So in the simplest of terms, the brain is basically in 2 halves. The left side of the brain thinks in words, the right side of the brain thinks in pictures, and we need to use both. The right side of the brain is the side that has the gift of imagination, looks forwards. It helps us to get a sense of where we want to go, what we want to do, what's important. The left brain is the logical side that helps us make a plan, follow a strategy of how we will get to our goal, our vision. And so we need both. And goal mapping helps to activate both sides of the brain because it uses this unique combination of words and pictures. And here on the screen is an example of a goal map. Left side, words, to activate the left brain. And the words are very important because you can be clear and precise using words. But the imagery is what gives a goal map its power, because by using imagery, you activate the right side of the brain. And it's through the right side of the brain that you command the subconscious. And the subconscious is enormously powerful. It's like your own personal autopilot, but it can't make choices or think for itself. It follows the strongest thoughts of your conscious mind. And so when you set a goal, what you're really doing is you're setting a target. You're looking to make the thought of what you want dominant so that your subconscious starts moving you towards it. The map itself is created by going through 7 steps. And on the 16th, I'll be guiding everybody through these 7 steps to create their own map. But I'll just show you those 7 steps now so you get a sense of how the map's created. The first step is to use your right brain imagination, look forwards into the future and have a little dream about what it is that you want, because if you don't know that, you can't even start the journey. And there may be many things that you want. And so the second step is to use your left brain logic, which is good at prioritizing, and work out what's the priority goal, which goal is most important, because we need a central focus. And then in step 3, we're using both sides of the brain to really map it out, to create the map in both words and pictures. And then step 4, and this is really important for people within multi-level marketing, is to know why they want the goal. I find a lot of people in network marketing, they know what they want. They have a picture about the lifestyle, and they have an idea of the plan, the marketing plan, and the next level they want to achieve. But the clearer they are on their main motivating emotional reasons, their purpose for success in the business, the more power it gives them, especially in those difficult times when you need that extra enthusiasm to keep going. Step 5 is really what makes a goal, which is when, because if you don't give a date, an achievement date for the goal, it's not really a goal, it's a wish. It's an aspiration that you may get to someday. And then the last 2 steps of goal mapping are how, what are the major actions you'll need to take to move you along the path towards the goal, like introducing people to the business, for instance, and sharing the product. And who's going to be involved? Is it just you? Are the key other individuals? If you think about these 7 steps, they are the critical aspects of conscious achievement. And goal mapping guides people through asking these 7 steps as questions, and it captures their answers, the information about their goals, in the form of words and pictures. So it activates both sides of their brain. And by doing that, it commands their subconscious then to move them towards the achievement of their goals. And here on the screen now, you can see my main goal map. This is my big goal and my big motivation, which is to help make a difference to 7 million people. Want to help to lift 7 million lives. So far, goal mapping has reached about 4 million people around the world. More than 1 million of those are school children in state education. This year alone, I presented in 20 different countries. There are 1,141 people certified to teach goal mapping around the world. It's used by some of the world's largest organizations, and we even have world champion sports people using it. Doctors and therapists use it, and education is using it all the way from primary school up through university. My books are in 14 languages. There's a free online program. I'm making presentations, well, almost every week. I've had a little rest for Christmas. The last country I was in was Holland. Before that, it was Norway. Before that, it was Sweden. And before that, it was Denmark and Finland. But I'm normally going somewhere to present every week. The UK, of course, but 80% of my work is around the world, and 20% is with the UK. And so a lot of people using it in a lot of different ways. In the whole day workshop, I guide people through creating their map, and I also guide them through the fundamental principles of success. And we have a lot of exercises and things for people to gain deeper insights about how they can achieve what it is they want to achieve. But it is everybody creating their map that is the main thing. And in fact, today, because my work year hasn't yet started, I spent today creating my map, because this is the first day I've had on my own today. And this map's all about me, my family, my work, the things I need to do, want to achieve over the next year. And so I should look at this once a day to gradually ingrain it into my consciousness, form those brain cell connections. But basically on the one sheet, you're capturing the key elements of what and why and when and how and who.
I mean, Brian, it all brings it all back when I see all these lovely maps, and I mean, I know that you can download all this information from the website, and
Indeed.
So once you come and speak to us, it's not just kind of like the end of the process. We can continue this process on for
Absolutely.
ourselves.
Yeah, you can. I make no restriction really around the materials. There's free PowerPoints, there's free video, there's free audio. There's all sorts of material that people can access and use. Of course, we have upgrades on some of the material if you want to use the premium level, but a lot of free material. And then if people want it, then there's full day workshops and many other things. But always the goal is for people to be self-sufficient within the system. I've never done any marketing or advertising. All of my work, including being here and speaking tonight, tends to come word of mouth recommendation from people like yourself, Gordon, that over a long period have known the material or have achieved something with it and just go and recommend it. Even my top end clients like Microsoft and my work with the British government, I mean, all of it has been word of mouth recommendation.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, well, listen, we're coming to the end of the call, so let me pass back to James. Brian, thank you very much, and on behalf of everybody, I can't kind of thank you enough, and I know you're going to come along with your two daughters, Shanti and Alicia, and you'll have some of your books and materials for us up to purchase on the day, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. I'll bring some things along, and my daughters will be with me because they like the material and they like to tell people about the books and things. So I'll bring some books and they will do the book table for me.
Excellent, excellent. All right, again, thank you very much, Brian, and giving us an insight into what we will look forward to on the 16th. So James, I'm going to hand it back to you. James, do you want to unmute yourself? You need to unmute yourself, James.
Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully you can hear me now. Brian, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, really, really fascinating.
Thank you.
And we look forward to a wonderful day on the 16th. I mean, I think that's going to be a real, it's going to be a real turning point for a lot of people, because to sit for, what will be an hour and a half, 2 hours with you to really process this is where the big changes are going to come. So I just can't wait for it, because I can just see the logic behind what you're saying, and it just makes so much sense. So I think that's just going to be absolutely great. So the real key, obviously, is for everybody to book up for the day in advance, of course, because we're rapidly approaching having, we're nearly 50% sold now, and we're still 2 weeks to go. So, you know, it's going to get to a point where we are going to be completely sold out. So just make sure that you get your ticket. It's on Eventbrite, so that's good. It's very, very, very nominal cost, but it's just so that, you know, we know who's going to be there. And that will be a brilliant, brilliant day for everyone. So, you know, just make sure that you get your ticket, and also invite other people, you know, because, you know, people will turn around to you afterwards and say, thank you so much for this incredible information. Good. All right. So just very quickly, moving on. On next Monday, we have a very special guest who's going to be with us. Some people may have heard us speak before, but we are very pleased to announce that we have the amazing Emma Buckley who's going to be speaking. So Emma is one of the keynote speakers across the world for Juice Plus. She is a wonderful advocate. She's been on TV in Ireland. She is on a lot of our product videos. She's highly knowledgeable. She's very knowledgeable about all the new products. And I can't think of anyone better to be taking us through the latest news about the products, but also a more sort of fundamental review of the products, because as a team in Aquila, we are very, very founded on the products, very, very founded on the capsules. And we have the longest serving customers of any team in the whole of the UK. So we're very, very proud of that. But Emma is really going to help us understand even more the fundamentals of the product, so that we can be that much more effective in terms of talking to people and serving our customers. So that's going to be next Monday, the 11th. At, again, 8:30. And then the following day, on the 12th, we will have a company presentation and product presentation on the Zoom. And that will be 8:30 on the 12th. So that'll be the second Tuesday of each month that we're going to be doing that. So thank you, everyone, very, very much indeed for joining us. We're up to 9 o'clock now. This has been recorded, so we will put it up on the Facebook group. But we really look forward to a fantastic start for the year. I can't imagine a better way to be going into 2016 than when our amazing day, our Vision Day, on the 16th. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Not least of which, of course, not only do we have Brian, but we also have Joanne Eldred, who is a top PMD. In actual fact, she's the top distributor in the northeast of England, and an amazing story she has as well. So that's enough for me. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Brian, so much for coming on this evening, and we really look forward to seeing you on the 16th. And have a very nice evening. Good night.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.